Well, we almost didn't get you, Bruce Cassidy, but thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I thought you ditched me there, fellas.
Yeah, I know. You called in and then no one answered. Well, congratulations, sir.
Well, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Well, look at you. You're a big coach in the NHL now. You got the interim tag off.
When did you find out you're going to be the head coach of the Bruins?
We talked on Monday. Sunday was a tough day for us, Talked to Donnie Monday, and that was that. We started talking about next year right away. I've got all the young guys here that are kind of trying to push their way through the door, so that's been the focus for us and try to get them up to speed, and away we go.
Was there a point during the season when you were still the interim coach that you were given a vote of confidence, or you kind of, from what maybe either Don Sweeney or someone else in the organization said to you, that led you to believe that you were more than likely going to be the head coach?
Well, I've known Donnie a long time, worked together in Providence for, I think 7-8 years. But I'll tell you, it played out. He took me aside, him and Ken, and said, listen, the team's yours, and run it like you're the head coach, and we'll make our decision at the end of the year. There is no, you have to make the playoffs or you have to do this or that. And that's the way they put it to me, and they were very upfront about it. And did tell me when the year was all over, they'd be looking at candidates and they'd make a decision at the end, and that's the way it played out. Obviously, we had conversations along the way, but no, there's no pressure, no timeline, no that you got to do this or that. So then I was appreciative of that, and they were true to their word.
All right, Bruce, when they made you an assistant coach this season and they promoted you from Providence, you pretty much were assured that when Julian's run was over, you were going to be coach. That's had to be how you felt, correct?
No, I don't think there's any assurances in this business. You hope that's the case. I'd put my time in down there. I thought I was certainly qualified, but there's a lot of good coaches out there. So for me, it was, come up, do your job. I know it sounds like a cliche, but that's it. Do your job. Get to know the league again. I'd been out of the NHL for a while, so learn from Claude, get to know the players, learn from them, see where it leads you. So, listen, no one wants those circumstances in the middle of the year. It wasn't fun for anybody when we weren't winning enough games. Assistant coaches, trainers, everybody feels it. So, that's the part that sucks. But at the end of the day, they made a decision, and you got to try to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, from people I know in the organization, it was real bad with Claude at the end in terms of just what was going on. The relationship with him and the team, I guess, was just very strained. How much of a relief was it? Well, first of all, how bad was it in your opinion? I'm not asking you to throw him under the bus, but
Can
how
you
bad?
Describe the environment during those last few weeks?
Yeah, right.
Well, I wouldn't throw him under the bus. Claude, listen, I came here to learn from him, and I did for 7-8 years down there. He made me part of the Black Aces years ago in the Cup run. I got the extra guys, and even though you're kind of just, behind the scenes, it was great for me. I got to be the whole part of it, got the ring, got the whole deal, and it was, just a real good learning experience. And but at the end, I think when you don't win, it sours, no matter who's at the helm. So no one's having fun. Everyone's looking over their shoulder. Are there going to be trades? What's going on? So, and Claude, he's the guy that's feeling the most heat of everybody. So I think it's natural to be, a little bit on pins and needles, and that's what we were. That was the atmosphere. You're all on pins and needles because, the pressure builds, and especially if you haven't been in the playoffs for a few years. So I don't think there was anything unnatural about it at the end, to be honest with you. I think a lot of places go through that. We were no different. For me, it was a little bit new because I was still trying to feel my way around, get to know the players, and a lot of different things. But that was it, at the end of the day. So, like I said, there was nothing there that was, I got no scoops for you in that regard. It just played out like it did.
Well, we talked to Vetrano, and I guess this was a sentiment with a lot of the younger players, that there was a great sense of relief when you became coach. He said it.
They have their opinion, right? And for them, maybe it was more difficult. Like I said, I'm not walking in their shoes. I think for them, the guys that played for me, maybe that's why they were used to having me, call the shots in Providence, and they enjoyed it. They had success because they got up. So when you have success with one guy, you like it. When you don't like it. You ask any player that's done well, did you like the coach? If they've had a good career, they probably do. If they didn't, or a good season, they probably, it's the other way. It kind of correlates with their personal success, I think, a lot of times. So that could have been the case with the young guys. They can only answer that. I can't speak for them, and I think they have.
Well, seeing that you guys did have a relationship, have you spoken with Claude since you left for Montreal?
I texted him when he left, but I have not, and I don't think that's unusual in season. I'll see him at the draft. We'll catch up. I'm sure we'll share a few stories. I've known Claude a long time. We're both from Ottawa, different parts of it. He's a little older than me, but we used to skate in the summer a long time ago when we were lousy pros, playing in the American Hockey League. We'd skate in the summer with a bunch of other guys, and but that's a long time ago. He went his way, I went mine, so I'm sure we'll catch up. But listen, he's coaching the Montreal Canadiens now. I told you I'm a Bruins fan, so I hate the Canadiens.
Well, you had to be pretty psyched that...
No matter who's coaching, it doesn't matter. It could be Claude or Joe Blow. I mean, I just don't like the Canadiens. They broke my heart too many times as a kid, so I think that'll make the rivalry even better.
Yeah, you got to be pretty psyched they lost, so not everyone was, chirping at you that Julian was still in the playoffs. So that's got to be
Listen,
good.
I told you it was more about Montreal. I don't like them. So I'm not going to hide it.
I think that's a sentiment a lot of us share. Okay, one guy that was disappointing, and one guy that I thought was going to thrive under you that didn't, was Ryan Spooner. I know his relationship with Claude was strained, and I thought that since you had, coached him in Providence and you had a different style of coaching and a little bit more open, I thought it would fit his style a little bit more. And he didn't live up to those expectations. What was your read on how he finished out the season?
Well, in fairness, I'll tell you, I thought he started well. For talk about the end didn't go well. We all saw it. He wasn't in the lineup. He wasn't 100%, but certainly able to play. I think the way the series was going, he's more of a line rush, attack type player. Certainly, his best asset is just distributing the puck, so power play, and we weren't getting on it that much. So we decided to make a switch, and this is as much about what the other players, Brang, Corrali, who came in, and Achari. And yes, Ryan, if he's playing to his potential and beyond, he's in the lineup. I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat it. But at the end of the day, the other guys had brought better assets to what we needed in that series. And I thought it started well with Ryan. He had some confidence, some jump. We're trying to incorporate him in the penalty kill, make him more of a 200-foot player. But I'll tell you what my issue was at the end with Ryan is it was well documented with Claude. He didn't like his defensive game and some of the other things. For me, I didn't like his offensive game at the end. He wasn't playing to his strength, and that bothers me about players. If they're not able to play to their strength, when the temperature of the game goes up, we can work with him on his weaknesses. We're there to coach up the defensive part of it, but he wasn't attacking, and that was disconcerting to me. That hey, he's a guy that should be creating some offense in a series where offense was hard to find, and we weren't getting enough of it, so we made the switch.
Yeah, I don't want to harp on him, but it had to be frustrating looking at him, and just he didn't seem to want to get involved at all in any kind of tight areas or get involved in anything remotely physical.
Yeah, and listen, he's not going to. We all know he's not that guy that's going to be planting himself in front of the net and absorbing hits every shift. But he still needs to attack with the puck when there is some open ice. And like I said, there wasn't a lot, but there were creases out there where he could have used his foot speed, and that was the conversation with him. When those situations arose, we needed him to make his plays and attack. It didn't happen, so we moved on to the next player. We're here to win. We were. Kind of leaving it all out there, and I thought our guys played hard, the guys that went in, so kind of look at it as more, give them credit for going in and doing their job, and we'll continue to work with Ryan. He's a special talent, we just got to continue to try to pull it out of him and see where it leads us.
Bruce, what was David Krejci dealing with that made him miss time during the playoffs, and when did you find out?
David had a tough year. Remember, it started in last year with the hip, right? So he was always kind of chasing the game at the start of the year, and he'd be the first to tell you that coming off that surgery, he wasn't 100% coming out of camp. I mean, he's cleared to play, but there was some catch-up there. And at the end, it was clearly a knee-on-knee hit, and I thought was kind of a borderline cheap shot, but at the end of the day, it happens, and, that took him out. And that was that with Krejci. So never saw him really get up to speed in the playoffs at all, which we missed. I mean, look at his track record, in that time of year, and especially, for not getting it from our third line, and, we needed his scoring, but it is what it is.
Talking to Bruce Cassidy, Colin Miller is the guy that you've dealt with, and I know the expansion draft is coming up. You hear a lot about the upside of Colin Miller, puck-moving defenseman, the way the modern NHL is now. How have you seen his development, and where do you think he's at now?
Good pockets of good games as the year went on. You're trying to get him. It's almost like guy with Colin. You see him on the ice. You see all the positives. And then as a young defenseman, I don't know how many truly reach their true potential till they're into their mid-20s anyway. So that part of it we're willing to wait out or work with, I guess, a better word, for the 200-foot game, the consistency factor. And that's what makes McAvoy such a special talent right out of the gate. But
right.
Colin, then towards the end of the year, I don't want to say regressed, but he didn't continue to grow at the level we thought he could. So we made a switch, went with a more veteran guy, and hoped that little time off. And I don't know if it's the moment, that time of the year, when the intensity goes up, and he wasn't able to sustain his level of play, but kind of make the switch. But I still think there's a guy there that he's got a lot to offer. It's just he's starting to get pushed now with the right sticks on our back end. We're kind of unique in hockey where we have that many right-shot defensemen that can play, and McAvoy coming in is going to make it that much difficult for those guys. You take Carlo, you hope he builds on his year as a young guy. McAvoy, you got Kevin Miller and Adam McQuaid, and good soldiers, play hard. You need that element in your lineup. It's why our penalty kill was so good. So there's competition there. So I don't know how it's all going to play out. The draft's coming up. I really don't know. Donnie's got a tough call there to who's going to protect and who's going to expose.
I agree. That should be interesting. Now, Sweeney seems to have drafted very well, and you have all this young talent. Next year, just next year, how many of these young kids do you think will be playing with the big club?
Well, okay, well, you never like to play the what if.
Let's play it, baby. Let's put the cards on the table.
I think McAvoy proved that, he can step in. Now, again, I don't think it's kind of beginner's luck. I think he's got it. He's a kid that handled the limelight very well. The intangibles of his game are unique. I think Carlo came off a concussion, is always a question mark, but he's got all summer to sort of get himself squared away. We just got to watch out for the proverbial with sophomore jinx with him, but I think he'll be fine. He'll keep building his game. He has a great partner in Z. I like that combination. So then you'll go to the front of the line, and maybe another left shot deal crack our lineup, because with Krug and Chara, maybe someone from the right we talked about moves over. We did that this year. It worked out okay. It's not ideal. But O'Gara, Grzelcyk down, and then Zaborla and Lozon turning pro. This first and second round picks from a couple of years ago in part of the, the Lucic, Hamilton kind of haul there. So these guys are turning pro. It's tough to step in at 19, but Carlo did it. McAvoy did it. So maybe there's another guy on the other side that can do it. We'll let that play out. But I think we got some good options there. Up front, Forsbacka Carlson came in from BU late in the year. We would have liked to see him more, to be perfectly honest, but tough situation to throw him right in, although we did it with McAvoy, but that was more out of necessity. He could be a wild card because he's got a lot of Bergeron characteristics. You don't want to throw that out there lightly, but that's what I've been told, and he might be able to model his career on that type of player. DeBrusk, down in Providence, having a good year. First-round pick. Zanishin just turned pro. He's a first-round pick. He's in the playoffs with the P Bruins now. So there's a lot of options. Kid Bjork at Notre Dame. I don't like to talk about players that aren't signed, but he's in our system. He was a great pick by our scouts. I think he was a fifth-rounder. He's up for the Hobey Baker, and I've been told by a lot of people he's one of the more dynamic players in college hockey. So, if we could get him into the, under our umbrella there, then there'd be, more to choose from. He could be a guy that steps in, but I don't know.
What the hell's his deal? What's he waiting around for? He's going to go back.
I don't know. Part of that is I don't get involved too much in that. You kind of coach the guys that walk through the door. I think everyone in the Bruins, values what he brings, but him and his, family advisors got to sort of figure out what's best for him, and that's what they're doing. So that's where he is right. I think he might be at the World Championships right now with the American team. I think there was talk about that. I'm not sure if he made their team or, but he's for a college kid, that's impressive. So hopefully, he does join us. But again, I'm just speculating when I say that.
All right, Bruce, with free agency, how much do you see Don Sweeney working with you on decisions? And if you had your way, what would you target in the offseason?
We talked about all year our second-line left winger spot. We rotated through a bunch of guys. We're hoping someone from inside the system can do that. Heinen, Solaric, DeBrusk, if it's Bjork that gets signed, that they're able to step up. It's a big ask, but that's what they project to be down the road with. They can do it right away. Donnie will talk to me, but that's him and the pro scouts. That's their neck of the woods. I don't. I haven't been in the league, like, say, Claude, who's 10 years, sees these guys every day, would have a stronger opinion on that and a better opinion from experience. So I'm going to leave that to Donnie. I just think if we look at our lineup, that's an obvious place to start. And then we talked about our left D. How's that going to play out? Is it Joe Morrow? Is it someone that's down in Providence can step up? Those are all decisions you kind of sit down and talk to the people that know better in the summer that, hey, this guy's ready, this guy's not ready. And we talked about the backup goaltending. I think Hudobin did a terrific job down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Whether everyone's in agreement, he stepped up and played like he could. So, that's an area that's been discussed, but we do have a player there that hopefully plays to his potential. So those are some areas. Ryan Spooner, I think, is arbitration eligible, so Donnie's got a decision there. How does that fit into our structure? So, but that's what they pay him for. Like I said, I coach the guys that come, but those are some areas that will be discussed, and rightfully so.
All right, Bruce. Well, Patrice Bergeron is probably the last guy you would ever hear complain about any kind of injury or anything of the like, and we found out at the end of the season that he'd been playing the entire season with a sports hernia, which obviously, if anyone knows about it, it's painful as hell. Behind the scenes, how difficult was it for him to get up to the place where it looked like, I guess at the beginning of the season he was bad, and then he conditioned himself to where he seemed to be back to his normal self. How tough of a process was that for him to get through that injury?
Well, that's those are like you rely on your skating legs obviously every day, so it was a hell of a battle for him. Obviously, they advised him that he could play through it, but you're never going to be truly 100%. So he'll have to look at what's the best medical route to take this summer. But I mean, listen, Patrice he's everything you want in a hockey player, and this is just another example of him putting the team first. So I can't thank him enough for while we're on the subject of what he did for me to allow me to come in there and be myself. And I told the guys yesterday, earn their kind of respect and trust, and he was a big part of that. So very enjoyable guy to coach, very enjoyable person to be around. That's just another example of Patrice. So I hope whatever the situation is that he's able to be 100% next year. I'm sure with the summer he'll get up to speed because he's a guy we're going to rely on again. But again, can't say enough about him. But that's hockey players. I mean, they come to play.
I blame that stupid World's Championship that they played that no one cared about.
That's Canada. We won a gold. We're proud of that.
Yeah. If only you could sell out the arena.
That's right. A lot of people showed up, Bruce. Ottawa, I know. I mean, it was in Toronto. Well, yeah, but it's like Canadian hockey's taking a hit. Ottawa didn't even sell out last night.
That's true. Well, they're so boring, let's face it. Bruce Cassidy, I like you. I like that you're very candid, and I would hope that we could develop a relationship and perhaps talk during the season next year.
Yeah, happy to do it. And, yeah, thanks for having me on, fellas. I appreciate it. And, yeah, go Bruins. Listen, there's a lot of young kids coming. I think we talk about it down the road, but I think Donnie's done a great job. There was a lull there where we moved some players out. But I think you're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, with those trades with these young kids coming. I think we got some really good ones. They can't all pop. It's inevitable that some are going to be misses, but if you have more hits than misses, and I think you saw it with McAvoy and Carlo. There's other guys coming, and I think the Bruins fans are going to be excited to see some of this young talent. Mix it with the old guys, and I think we got something. But I guess it's up to us to get it done on the ice, right? So there you go.
Finally, Bruce, how many years are you going to be around? Did they tell you?
Yeah, it's a multi-year deal. They like to keep that in-house. I'm fine with that. It's listen, you know how it is. You don't win, you're out in a hurry. If you win, you get some longevity. It's that simple. So that's the job.
Well, congratulations. Well deserved.
All right, Bruce Cassidy, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.